Morning Year 10. So as of today we are starting our second topic of your History GCSE. So we are no longer doing medicine through time, and our second topic is the Anglo-Saxons. So in your books, can you take a brand new page please, put today's date and write the title Introduction to William of Normandy. Now, like your medicine through time, there are booklets for you. Now, normally if you were in school, obviously we would give them to you. However, what I have done is I have uploaded an electronic copy that is in the link where it says additional resources. So feel free to kind of print yourself the booklet, but it would be useful for you to have a copy of it either open on your computer or a printed version for you to be able to read through whilst I read through the sections. So we are starting they're Anglo-Saxons, but actually where does that fall in terms of time frames? So on this timeline, at the top you have different periods, and historians divide up the past into periods to make it easier for us to understand. And the period that we're going to be looking at is the Middle Ages. So it begins in 1066 and it ends roughly in 1485. So they are the time frames at the top. However, at the bottom of the timeline, you have key events or key these are not all the key events, obviously, but it is some of the ones that should be quite familiar to you. So we start off with the birth of Jesus, the fall of the Roman Empire. We start the Anglo-Saxon period in 1066 because it is the Battle of Hastings. And then we have the Tudor period, so you would have looked at the Tudors in year 8, hopefully. World War I last year in year 9, and kind of 2017 to now, obviously 2021, which brings us up to our modern day. Right, so if you have the booklet open, I am reading from page 2, and the subtitle up there is Anglo-Saxon Society and the Normans, and it is the introduction. So, on the evening of 14th of October 1066, William of Normandy stood on the battlefield of Hastings. He must have been exhausted, relieved, and uncertain about what would happen next. He had won the battle, but one victory did not give him control of the whole of England. Over the next few years, the English rebelled time and time again, but William was always proved successful. William dominates this unit, so the best place to start would be with William himself when he set sail to conquer England. He was nearly 40 years old. What qualities and experience did he have with him to help conquer England? So, William is William of Normandy. He was a duke at the time. However, he had come and invaded England in 1066, and that's where our time frame starts from. However, you do need to understand a little bit more about him, okay, and where he comes from. So, despite William's fame, we know very little about what he looked like. No one at the time wrote a detailed description of his appearance. None of the illustrations of William look alike. And that's just because a lot of sources that might have existed at that time might not have survived to present day, but also it's probably because a lot of the sources that did exist vary so much that we don't know what he looks like. However, we can make some sort of judgment. Now, they were created to show William as a powerful ruler, not to be realistic. He may have been about 5 foot 10 inches tall, but that depends on whether a thigh bone in his tomb is really his. It is likely that he was very strong, as chroniclers suggest he could fire 5 arrows with a heavy bow whilst on horseback, steering the horse with his legs. In order to be able to do that, you had to be very, very strong and very skilled at the same time. And that's why people would suggest that he was very strong, but also he was a good military leader at the time as well. They also tell us that he had harsh, rough voice, which probably added to his commanding appearance. So, the problem with William is that we don't know what he looks like exactly, but there are some sources that suggest he was a strong leader, in terms of kind of being commanding, but as well as during battles. We roughly know his height if we're going to believe the bone that is in his tomb, and if that tomb is actually his in the first place, because it could not be. So we have some idea, but it's nothing that is completely 100% guaranteed, just because the sources are from a really long time, and historians have made judgments based on what they have. So, William was born about 1027. He was the son of Robert, the Duke of Normandy, and Helena, the daughter of an undertaker and tanner. So an undertaker is somebody who is essentially looks after people who have died, and the tanner is somebody who looks after the cowskins. Now, his parents were not married, which is why he is sometimes referred to William the Bastard. William became Duke of Normandy before he was 8, after his father's death in 1035. Now, what has happened is that William's father was a duke, and his mother had him when they weren't married, and because of that, he gets the nickname William the Bastard. But it is most likely that his father was married to somebody else at the time as well, and this is very common for wealthy men such as dukes and kings to have a mistress at the same time as well, at the same time as being married, and it was very, very common for them to have children as well. What is quite unusual is that William was able to become duke despite being born out, despite his parents not being married when he was born. However, he does become the Duke of Normandy when he's 8. That's because obviously his father dies. Violence then erupted between Norman lords and knights who fought over land and power, putting the young duke in danger. On occasion, he was hidden in poor people's cottages to keep him safe. William finally won complete control of Normandy in 1047 when his army defeated his cousins, who were trying to take over Normandy. Right, to give you some context, Normandy is here, like you can see on the screen. It's in France. It's in the north of France, and you can see that it's literally just the English Channel that separates Normandy to England, so William becomes the Duke of all of this land, so all of Normandy, when he's 8 years old, and when he's nearly 40, he sets sail to try and invade England. So what I would like you to do now is, there are 3 questions. When did the Battle of Hastings occur? So I'm looking for the date here. Why don't we know what William of Normandy actually looked like? And why is William sometimes referred to as William the Bastard? So these 3 questions, can you please answer them in your pink history books for me? So I suggest you pause the video, have a go at the questions, and then unpause me when you're ready. Right, so I am back to page 2, okay, so I'm reading from the booklet again. Now, William stamped out opposition ruthlessly. When the town of Anglo rebelled against him, he cut off the hands and feet of 32 of its inhabitants. However, William also won support by giving important positions to local landowners. He knew that in order to essentially keep loyalty from people, he gave local landowners important positions because he knows that it would ensure that they were loyal towards William. Now, they realised that there were benefits in supporting William. If they didn't, he would take all of their land and exile them. Exile them essentially means banishing them. William also won the support of religious leaders who were very influential. He appointed Odo, who is his half-brother, as Bishop of Bayeux, one of the most powerful positions in the Norman Church. William was deeply religious. He attended Mass most mornings, and he built spectacular cathedrals and monasteries in Normandy. So he was a Catholic. William's first objective as Duke was to make Normandy more secure. He was especially concerned about the threat of the Count of Anjou, whose lands lay to the south of Normandy. So if I put the map back on, you can see where I'm talking about. Anjou is here. In 1049, he led his army to defeat Anjou, and in the 1050s, he twice defeated invasions from the combined forces of Anjou and France. On one occasion, he attacked as his enemies were crossing the river, making it hard for them to deploy their forces effectively. William proved himself a brilliant strategist, especially skilled in building and capturing castles. And that's quite important, that he knows how to build and capture castles, because it's something that will help him later on in life when he invades England. William ensured that other rulers in northern France supported Normandy by conquering Maine and defeating Brittany. So again, we're looking at the two kingdoms that are closest to Normandy. By 1060, William was secure from attacks by other rulers and dominated northern France. He could not have considered invading England if Normandy had still been threatened. So what William, Duke of Normandy, has managed to do is all the areas around him that surround Normandy, he's managed to defeat them, and he's managed to ensure that they do not invade him. That is the only reason he feels safe enough to leave Normandy and cross the English Channel to invade England. Now, the one place that he hasn't really made a bit of an alliance with is Flanders. So William marries Matilda, who was the daughter of the Count of Flanders, a powerful landowner in northern France, and that is what secures Flanders from invasion, because he marries the daughter of the Count at the time. So you've got an image of Matilda. The marriage therefore adds to William's power and influence, and they had generally quite a happy marriage, as William and Matilda had 9 children, 4 of them who were boys. So, what I would now like you to do is, can you have a go at question 4 in 5, please? So, how did William ensure that people stayed loyal to him? So, what does he do to the local people in order to ensure that they are loyal to only him? And give an example of William being a good strategist. So, again, have a go at those 2 questions in your books, so you can pause the video until you're ready to move on. The final task that I would like you to do is this. Up on the screen, you have, now you can, if you've printed out the booklet, you can do this on page 3 because the grid is already there. If you have not been able to print out the booklet, then that's absolutely fine. What I would like you to do is all of these bullet points, do it almost as if it's a subheading in your pink history books, okay? So, for example, if you look at the first one, military skill, what I want you to do is write military skill as a subheading, and then I want you to find examples of where William has demonstrated that he has military skills. And then I want you to do that for all of the bullet points. So from military skill all the way down to produce an heir to inherit the kingdom. So either do it on page 3 on the chart directly if you have a printed out version, or you can do it directly into your pink history books. What would be really good for you to do then is to give each of these factors a rating, i.e. 1 being not very successful at all in helping William take control of England, and 10 being very successful. The final thing for today's lesson is that you need to ensure you complete the online quiz, which is attached to this video, by the end of the lesson as well, because your teachers will be having a look at your quizzes. You do not need to send in a photograph of the 5 questions and the factor work, okay? You don't need to send a photograph of that in to your teachers. You just need to ensure that that work is being completed in your books and that you have done the quiz. Thank you.